Okay, so change of location because I can only really sew right now when my child is asleep. So I'm now in the garage. It's taken me a while to get here since cutting out the pattern. I am starting, what's this called? The Noor Wrap Dress. It's a free pattern. I'm starting with sewing the shoulder seams. I'm doing French seams again. Sewing each seam twice to encase the seam and so it doesn't fray because I don't have a serger, and I guess I could do a zigzag stitch, but that might be itchy, so we'll see how it goes. Alright, let me just sew something. It's been ages. Oh. Alright, here we go. I have one part of that hem done, which makes it feel like a big win, regardless of how far I get tonight, because I have sewed a stitch. I've started. Yay. I'm working on the other shoulder seam, and she's up. I'll be back. She's back to bed. I actually did just come down. I just changed my shirt because it did have, I think, yogurt all over it. And both the cats are now followed me in the garage. Oh, baby. I mean, the fact that I'm whispering is silly because this is much louder than my talking. And so I've just made the French seam up here, so it's very neat. Hem, there's the right sides of the fabric. So the next step that I'm doing is creating the bias tape that will go around the neckline. While I was down here before, I also did the step of taking the two pieces of fabric cut on the bias. This is going to be the bias tape, and put them at a right angle, and then sew them together so when you open it, it's one long thing. Along this seam, just cut it. This to make the bias tape. Okay, so now that the entire length of this has been ironed into the bias tape, we make double bias tape. So we take what we've just ironed and fold it again and iron that so that it becomes a really clean line all the way down. Here is the iron double bias tape, and now I'll take this and pin it along the neckline. I'll align the raw edge with the raw edge, and then continue to pin all the way around with this raw edge. Then I will sew in the crease. Now we have pinned along the entire neckline. So now I'm going to stitch along this fold all the way around. Here is the neckline. Now I'm going to trim the raw edge that will be kind of hugged in the neckline here. The next step will be to press this, so ironing that and then folding it over and top stitching on or close to the seam. Now I've started pinning the bias tape over the raw edge. This is going to be top stitched, so making sure that this is going a little bit over the original stitch. Alright, I've pinned all the way around. And here we have the finished neckline. Alright, so this is basting stitch for the armhole gather, or the shoulder gather, not really the armhole. I could do it by machine, but I'm just doing it. So my 2 lines of basting. Working on the gather of the sleeve and making it even. Wrong sides are together for this first armhole sewing for French seam along it. Next, I'll be pressing the seam towards the sleeve. I hope that's the right direction, but that's what I'm going to do. And then this is the right side, so this will be inside. This will be inside the French hem. Second shoulder is pinned, and I will attempt to sew it, hopefully without waking up my napping child. Okay, I ironed and pinned for the second part of the French hem on this sleeve. Ominous. French seam. Okay, well now both arms are pinned, the wrong sides together, and while I thought it was a bummer that I had pinned one whole side, I have to say I'm grateful I didn't sew it, because ripping out a seam would be a lot more of a pain. I have got the bodice part pretty much done of the wrap dress, except for the sleeves, so I have to figure out the sleeve length that I want and then pin it and sew. So that's my next step. So I'm just gonna see where I want it. I hope I make the sleeves even as well. We'll see. The first wrist hem is folded in twice on the wrong side, pressed and pinned. And now I'm headed to the other sleeve. To the other side. Okay. And then I'm going to unpin it, because that was really just for the first side, and then fold it again. Bring it to that where I'm hoping is a 1/2 inch. Measure to make sure. Yes. It's been days since I've touched this, and I'm like, why am I so freaked out by getting the length of my sleeves wrong? But I am so freaked out. No, it'll be okay. I'm just gonna go sew now. Yay! I did it pretty evenly. Imagine that. Following directions. It makes it pretty even. It's on inside out right now, but that allows me to not get stabbed by these pins. But I think it is falling well, kind of evenly on both hands. Anyway, so I'll triple check and then sew the other side. Yes. Here we go on the other side. Okay. Let's do this. Gently down. Oh, tired. Onto the skirt. First side skirt panel. Pinned. I'm about to do my second side, and I just wanted to show this is my little pin hack. I just laid out the pins in a row where I'm going to put them in the material for the hem, so I don't have to like fiddle with new ones each time. And I used it at the first side, and I think it's pretty good. Is that a hack that everyone already knows about? I made up in my head, but it's like already a thing that exists because everything already exists. Nothing's an original idea, but I'm glad that one popped into my brain at this point. Done the first side, and now just checking that I didn't go off. Nope, I got it all on the second side. Turns out the last step, I hemmed the wrong side. So I'm in the closet because it's really cold downstairs, and I'm pinning the correct side. And then I'll take it downstairs and sew it, and then I will rip the seams up from the wrong side. Oops. Okay, I'm finally getting to the pockets, and I'm following different tutorial from YouTube to make a French seamed pocket. So I used the pocket pattern linked in this Noor pattern, but I'm then applying like a different way. I'll show you. Whatever. The pockets have been pinned right sides together, and then I've drawn in this line that I'm going to sew along for the first side, and then that will get top stitched. And I'm like, well, why did I attempt this difficult thing? It's because I want darn pockets in my darn dress. Okay, so I'm just gonna do the other side panel. Like, I'm not going all the way through one pocket. I'm just gonna do parallel steps on either side. It doesn't make a difference unless I mess it up on both sides, and that'll stink, but whatever, you know? You only live once. Unless you're reincarnated, and then that's not true at all. Pocket. Next step is to cut along the stitches, like with very close to the stitches, 3 millimeters or so away, and then you cut the corners all the way into, but not crossing the seam. And then don't mess this up. Next step will be turning the pocket to the inside of the garment, like that, and then I'll press that so it's a neat edge. You get the corner in there. This iron is heating up. and then I will edge stitch along the front of this. The edge stitch is complete, and now we will put the other side of the pocket, wrong sides together, under the right side here. Alright, both pockets are pinned. This one was really wonkily cut, so I will make those even. And I pinned even around the fold that's in here, because that would be on the back side of the cloth. So yeah, next step is sewing this up, and then we'll turn it inside out, or rather right side round, and to the second seam, which encases the raw edge. And this is the first thin seams, like 5 millimeters for the pocket, and then I'll be turning this inside out or right side round to encase this in the slightly wider seam. I got in a shower, which is always amazing when it happens. So I'm gonna head back to these pockets. Slow and steady. Does it win the race? Is there even a race? No. There's not a race. Just live your life. Hopefully with this French seam, I can actually fit my hand in the pocket, because the pattern wasn't meant or intended for a French seam, but I'm gonna go on faith that, oh, yeah, totally. Now to flip it, put your thing down, flip it, and reverse it. There we go. Very snazzy. Then I will sew around and encase the raw edge that's on the inside. There's that beautiful wrong side. So this is the seam that will be on the inside. Now it's the side seams, so I'm going to do that upstairs where I can really lay out the fabric. The cats might get involved. I may have to kick them out so that they don't get so involved. And then it'll be back down here to sew. And I'll probably run out of bobbin thread. Second side is pinned. Ready to bring it downstairs. Just trimmed the seam allowance to get off the rough edges for the most part. And we'll actually iron this seam open and then fold it over and do the French seam. I've pressed the seam open and Neptune has come into the garage. Oh, it wants so much attention. Oh. Okay, I've got the first side pinned, and I'm going to go ahead and sew this side before I do the other side. This is the French seam part. I'm really trying to see where the pocket, because I'm trying to sew very close but not over to where the pocket is, so just kind of making a little crease as best as I can with my finger, and I'll be able to follow that. Ooh, look at that pocket. I'm sure I have to press this now to the back, but I'm gonna go do this on the other side in this gorgeous pocket. Then we get back to our regularly scheduled program. These pockets were a detour because I'm adding it to this pattern. So then we'll baste the top of the skirt and attach it to the bodice. The basting stitches have been gathered and pinned to the bodice. I am trying to evenly distribute the ruffles. I have now ironed the seam, folded this over and pinned it along where the skirt attaches to the bodice to do the second seam here for the French seams. Just finished. And I think I've gone and done it. So I'm not sure if this is supposed to be ironed up or down. I kind of think up is going to be the path of least resistance here. Alright, first half-inch fold along the end of the skirt is done. So now I'm going to undo the pins and do this at 1 inch. I am going to sew up this hem with a top stitch. I'm working on the straps for the ties. I'm going to do a little embroidery on them. Here's the finished dress. Pockets. Embroidered bow.